putting it up. So let's kick off with the introductions, and I think it's always best if the candidates introduce themselves. So, if I may give a brief introduction from yourself, your role, and also what I think is interesting, what are you particularly proud of in the context of digital transformation? Because we're going to talk about digital transformation today and the building blocks in digital transformation, but also particularly related to what we have seen in the past days related to AI, because that makes a step change necessary in my opinion.
Okay. Good morning from my side. I'm Vasilis Tsidilas. I'm coming from Greece. I am from Relational, which is a software house offering and specialized for loan origination and collection processes. I'm the pre-sales director of the company. I have passed through the years from all the positions inside the company. So I have originally started through development. What we are coming here to say, we have two examples to present and explain that we have a digital transformation with a conservative bank that 3 years now is still ongoing, and we will explain later why this happens. And we have another example that in 1 year we have launched and we are ready and offering digital transformation processes to the customers with big success and very, how to say, 30% less occupation of employees and the time in processing to be 15 minutes of consumer lending inside the white good presenters. Okay.
Johan, please.
Yeah, I'll take the mic then. Thank you for the baton. And first of all, let me thank Elena and Morten for setting up such a great session today with wonderful speakers and also a lovely crowd. Thank you for that. My name is Johan Lemmens. I'm currently the global head of design for ING, and in a previous role I was also head of customer experience for Retail Asia. So, going back to your question, Remco, what am I most proud of from a digital transformation point of view? I actually came up with two examples, and one is directly related to what we have done in Asia. Of course, it's not very known to the audience here most of the time, but we actually set up in Philippines the first digital mobile-only bank in Philippines. And with that, drastically disrupting the whole financial market there. Retail market, retail finance has not been the same since ING actually started in that market. So I'm really proud of that. We started with 0, nobody there, up until when we were running there, almost 400 or 500 people there in the operations department and in the bank, and with over 300 million of assets that was already entrusted to our bank. So we're quite proud of that because it was all based on all the components that ING has built over the past 12 to 15 years with the banking technology platform, with all the stuff we've done here in the Netherlands and in the rest of the world, and leverage that in a completely different market with technology, organizational structure, and methodologies. So that was one example. The second example was actually in the mobile banking sphere. I was also in a previous life at ING responsible for building up and setting up the mobile banking experience, everything around mobile. And I think that still is something I'm very proud of because it was at the pinnacle of the transitional change into agile and the agile way of working within ING. So those are the two examples. So thanks for that.
Giorgi, we already heard your introduction, but maybe briefly, what are you particularly proud of what you did in maib?
Yeah, maybe two things which we did together at maib. One is about 1/4 plus of the population of Moldova have our app, and they use our mobile banking. And the second one is the agile that you mentioned, the transformation of the bank from command and control to more agile, future-proof institution. So that's the two things.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Can I have the mic, please? Very briefly, when we talk about digital transformation, does it have a clear start and end? What's your opinion about this?
Okay, I think that it's not a clear start and end. It's a continuous job. Okay. You have your data, you have to measure, you have to analyze, you have to change your processes every day based on the customer results and feedback. Always something that is going on and never stops. It's my opinion.
Any takers?
Well, I can build on that, Vasilis. I completely agree on that part. That digital transformation has, of course, a start in an organization when they start the digital transformation. But at the other side, where the company starts the digital transformation, in what maturity level, depends what the need of the company is, what background they have, where do they come from, and what their ambition actually is, where they want to go through. And some of them really approach it as a digital transformation has an end, because they have the goal to reach a certain point and then stop. But I have to agree with Vasilis, there is no end to it, and this will go on as long as we will keep on innovating within the branch and within society, basically.
I think I can echo. Firstly, you need to have the phases, otherwise you cannot mobilize people, right? So that you start something which never ends. But it's a journey more as opposed to with some ending definition. And plus, the more you are in it, the more you become agile and change-oriented, which is part of this transformation as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Very clear. If I may wrap that up with a summary, I would say the digital continuum. So basically, it's endless. If you can pop up this slide, please, I would make a brief statement. I hope I will. Can we all read this? Thank you. So 89% of the large companies globally have a digital and cloud and AI transformation under the way. Yeah, so it's nothing new. But only 31% captures the expected revenue lift and 25% expected cost savings from the effort. So basically, there's a huge potential for digital transformation. And with that in mind, I would like to pose some following questions. I think an interesting one for Giorgi. What did you do with the leadership in your team when you envisioned the digital transformation for maib?
No, I think I was very lucky from the perspective that leadership team which stayed with us and the new leaders that we attracted or were attractive for them to join us. Well, people that we shared the vision, and we've been doing it very impressively together. And I think that consists with the biggest challenge clearly is the cultural transformation, right? So that in a new environment, with new words and with new focus, that you basically mobilize entire bank that you need to achieve this. So I would say I am very lucky from this perspective, and the biggest achievement is the cultural transformation. I don't want to say that we are there already, so it's, as you said, everything is pretty much endless, but with the phases, I think we completed the first phase, and now we are embarking on the second phase of this.
And just to continue and build a little bit on that, you said the cultural aspect is an important aspect. What did you do in the culture in order to live up in this digital transformation? What did you change? What did the people change? How did this work?
The biggest challenge is to ensure that people work together, right? So that they are not in their silos and they don't consider IT as someone who is sitting there and is enemy of everyone and can anyone blame them for certain not achievement and not delivery. So I think the biggest one is to ensure that instead of silos, you do have the culture which is transparent, which is team-oriented, agile, where IT and people, and we now restrict naming people, IT and business, and we try to name them as the team because they need to share the same vision, the same business focus, and then they need to deliver together. And this is big transformation. I mean, let's say the signaling that we've been giving them from the top management level is that we don't wear ties, we don't address people with Mr. or Mrs. or whatever. We do open all the he did open all the offices, so this is more open office, and then starting from there and ending with the actual implementation of agile at scale, which ING pioneered in the banking, at least in Europe, in my knowledge. So there has been a very big and huge transformation in this regard.
Thank you. Maybe, Johan, a slightly different question, because we refer that there's still potential to change, to further enhance the digital transformation and to reap the benefits of this. ING moved to a specific operating model. We spoke yesterday, one of them that's very familiar is moving to the Spotify model, but when I interviewed you, you say, Remco, we evolved. Can you explain why you evolved in the operating model and what did you evolve to?
I thought we only had 50 minutes. So, and try to keep it as short as possible, because this is you have to understand, this is a transition that started basically started in 2008, when I was not even part of the bank. I joined in 2010, and we actually started the transition, the agile transition around that time, 2010, 2011. So it's a storyline from about 12, 13 years. To summarize that within a couple of sentences, always does not write to all the effort that went in there and the persistence and grit that people have to put in to actually get something like this on scale throughout a banking organization that is actually was and still is organized, decentralized. So just to understand, just to paint a picture, but where it started, and I must make it very, very small, was with the transition from the internet banking towards the mobile banking sphere. We identified that if we have to keep up with the same way of working, the same methods, the same reports, we would actually be out of breath before we actually got an app into the market. So we actually said we have to change in 3 times the speed that we currently have, and we can't do that with the current method and methodologies. Then we choose basically to move towards the agile mindset with Scrum as methodology, start with specific teams, measure their performance, see if we can build a case within the management if they see that the results are there. And the results were there. We were delivering within time, within budget, and we're actually blowing the minds of our customers because of our extreme customer obsession at that time, and it still is. So starting from there with this small seed within 1, 2, after that 4 teams, 8 teams, there's a transition on the IT side that built in from the agile side. IT started from that the Dutch organization started with, okay, we have to change something too. In the meantime, the IT organization changed in a way that we need to have a decentralized approach. So more like have to scale our way of working. Scrum was not doing it anymore. So we had to look towards a new way of working, a new methodology, and checked basically all the different there, like Nexus, Safe, and also, of course, a tribe model from Spotify. And that tribe model from Spotify, adopted a little bit, was actually then the starting point to actually extend that way of working and scale agile throughout the organization. But the baseline is still the same. Fast forward to now, and we see already that Spotify method is actually more like an A&G kind of method, scaled towards there. And there's a difference now between the delivery organization, which is still on that agile Scrum way of working most of the time, and that Spotify way of working, and then the operational side and sales side, which now works with circles, which is a different methodology, but fits their way of working more. So you see that whole transition over time, and that still says something about the digital transformation you said before. It's like in time you have different goals, you have to have different goals you have to meet, different timelines you have to do, so you have to change that organization with it, and that's what we've done the past 1.5 decades.
Yeah. Thank you, Johan. Can we move to the next slide, please? So basically it says digital leaders grow digital sales from 40 to 70%, whilst digital laggards grew from 8 to 70%. So there's a huge difference between these two performers. And basically the reason behind that, there's to drive digital sales, that leading banks go well beyond the mobile app, right? And they're basically transforming in a way to what is hard, which is hard to see, but also hard to copy. And what's beyond that is basically the end-to-end value stream. And that's a terminology maybe to explain.
So basically from origination to fulfillment to servicing. So basically the full process from the customer all the way to servicing. Moving from there, maybe Giorgi, can you explain a little bit on what kind of value streams you have in your company and what did you learn from that?
So, from the numbers perspective that you showed, so I think we started from 20 and now we are at 50% when it comes to loans and 60 when it comes to deposits. So there is a way to go there and to be in the best, but then you need to understand the customer behavior as well. I think the biggest change that we did there is that we have the teams that are very close to the customers. Sorry. And they meet the customers and they learn from the customers what the customers want. And then they have the ability, instruments, and the power to make those changes. And these are not only nice words. I mean, in reality, they do some changes that I'm not even aware for. And this is something that we do really encourage. That said, of course, we have tons of KPIs and then the areas of the focus, for example, such as time to cash, time to yes, for such loan, for such segment, and so on. And then when those indicators are above certain green areas, then we do so-called deep dives, right? So when we gather together and we try to understand what really happened and where we can improve it. And sometimes we fail to improve it, but then we continuously try to do. The key is to have this information and to understand that this information is very important. In our quarterly reviews, you would know these QBRs that we have, we started with customer experience and customer metrics, which is important for everyone to understand and share.
Just to build on a little bit, an interesting thing, so when we talk about value streams, now you're in the role and capacity of CEO of the company. So what happens if you see that in a value stream there's digital leakage or a physical leakage, so basically the value stream is inefficient? What is happening at that moment? Are you informed? Are you involved? What do you do?
I think I know most of the big cases because we do have this dashboard and then people are raising flags, most of the cases. What we do is the first step is the deep dive, we call it. We just try to understand what happened and why, and then we come up with some follow-ups. For example, we launched the digital onboarding service with the Face ID that I was presenting, and then we saw that we have some leakage, conversion from one page, one screen to the other screen because of certain glitch, which we tried to sit down together and try to understand what was happening, and then the journey, step-by-step journey, basically led us to the point that, listen, this is the problem that we need to solve. Not everything is smooth and nice as I'm talking right now, but I think I should be aware most of the important cases online, I mean, or in one day after the case.
Thank you. Johan, if I may, value streams, ING, how does that work in ING? You explained a little bit about the target operating model, that's agile, I would say. How does that work with value streams?
To be quite honest, Remco, when you said the word value streams, it didn't ring a bell, to be quite honest. Yep. But if you look at how we organized, and then of course I looked up the terminology, and it's basically starting from understanding the problem until delivering value to the customer. That's why it's a value stream, right? So if you look at that point of view, like I said before, from an ING perspective, there's a full customer obsession. So that means that we have to be very close to the customers in one way or the other. That is by KPIs, by specific numbers, but also by basically setting up events like calling our customers ourselves just out of the blue and start doing interviews, doing random interviews on the street, etc., just to get the insights from your customer's point of view, beside all the normal KPIs. The organization itself, organizes it around there. So we look at the identified problems from the customers and actually provide it, just like Giorgi says, to the teams that actually start working on that solution up until that it's live. And that's where the biggest challenge lies for any value stream. It's not setting up the value streaming, it's not doing the analysis, it's not organizing the people, it's organizing for scale and organizing for speed. Because nobody cares about a solution for a problem you identified half a year ago. The problem has to be identified and has to be fixed as fast as possible, even if that's a commercial problem, a technical problem, a customer experience problem, doesn't matter. It's all about speed, and that's where the biggest challenge lies in any value chain.
Just to build up on
Where?
I can do it one. To build up a little bit on that, because it says we want to go value streams that are hard to copy, so to have a competitive edge. I know that you're trying to fix problems in digital leakage, etc. But how do you work as services that are hard to copy? Do you have maybe one of you have an answer to that question?
Oh, I see already somebody.
So just something sparked in mind. So we did this, as I said, Stanford program, and then it was designed to our change. And then there is this framework called PARC, which is people, architecture, routines, and culture. So if you put them right, and then we've learned it from our case in previous my bank, other bank case, then this is pretty much impossible to copy. Because if you just launch some product, they can copy tomorrow. But then the way you interact with the customers and the way you deploy the new changes, this is something that is not possible to copy. That's where we are going to. We are not there yet, but certainly we are better than many competitors in the region, not only in the bank, in the country.
Okay, thank you very much. Vasilis, you work for a software vendor. I learned that you are working on loan origination. You configure these systems with your customers. How does that work if you want to have differentiation or adjust in order to come to something that is hard to copy? What can your system facilitate to that? Or is it one size fits all? I'm just provocative here, right?
Mm-hmm. Tell you the truth, you have to have in your mind always that it is a customer-centric approach. Okay, so you have to have reusable components in order for them to help the organizations to adopt in any change at any moment. You have to give the tools to them in order to, on their own, to be able to configure their business. This is very important. To give the possibility to alter at any moment their business policy, their credit policy, their scorecards, to receive feedbacks from the customers. So you give the opportunity to the organization to transform any logic that they want. This is my opinion. So, and this is what we are giving with our tools. Okay. I'm trying to be fast because of the time.
No, thank you. So I will be fast as well. So we'll move to the next statement. Thank you. So value streams need constantly evolving to meet the needs of the customers. Okay, we agree, right? Digital leaders that are able to adapt to these trends and provide innovative and customer-centric solutions will be well positioned for success. Well, we already see that there were several teams to fix all these digital leakages, physical leakages, or to adjust, etc. But now it comes to something what we have been learning in the past days, AI, generative AI. And when we talk about a value stream, then maybe we can build an analogy on that, because is it possible to build a co-pilot on top of a value stream? And there's different angles to that. We could build a co-pilot in the direction of the customer, but we can also build the co-pilot in the direction of the employee, to make the value stream more seamless, to give a competitive edge, to be differentiated or maybe hard to copy. And maybe this is a bit far-fetched, right? We're not there yet for security reasons, but let's think in this way. And taking it from there, would this make sense? Giorgi, I'm handing off to you.
No, I think clearly it does make sense. Of course, we don't understand well it enough how to build the real Copilot. But then this is where it is going, and maybe chat banking or whatever that becomes very important. We are launching right now the marketing campaign You Drive, which is kind of implying that you as the customer drive and we give you the instruments and we are your co-pilot. It is going to that direction, and we also want to understand where are the actual use cases of this that we can implement. Maybe everybody should be scared because we don't know how it will disrupt the industry, especially the traditional, more not fully digital banks. But then hopefully we are strong enough all that we will adapt it very fast.
So that's a bit from the lens from the customer. Now you have a front office, mid office, back office. How would it serve the employee? Yeah, so that they can give quicker answers, or they can do transactions in a different way.
No, we do use across the bank in some areas. I mean, I also, especially in the IR news, it gives you the perfect IR news if you give the right inputs. Of course, we use here and there. And we opened access to this through our network for all the employees pretty much as well. So we do use here and there, but we don't yet have full use case where we use it for the customer.
Johan, so in the value stream, you don't know which direction I'm going, more or less. So we see, of course, chatbots. So having in mind the value stream end to end, and we also learned from Giorgi this morning that it might go into a direction that will be the single interface towards the customer. So the chatbot. How do you see this moving into transactions? So applying for a loan directly from the co-pilot or the chatbot.
Before we are there, I think we need to have several things in place. And just to paint the context, and I know that we're in between you and the coffee or toilet break, but but if you look at what we've done in Philippines, we had only chat as our customer support center, only chat. We started also as only chat agent. There was no call center, nobody on the phone, there was not even a phone to call, nothing there. So that means that you have to first identify what are the specific use cases based on strict criteria. Basically, what's your return on equity, return on investment, time, but also what data do I have that actually leads me towards fixing that problem, so that I can identify that problem both from the number of cases that are there with that problem as the severity of that problem itself. So in order to do that analysis, you have to do a deep dive through all those chat conversations, to everything that's there, talk to customers, etc., and then identify a use case you can start with immediately. Because that's where the problem lays most of the time, is that we don't start with anything because of all our known unknowns or unknown unknowns or whatever. There's always, like Giorgi already also said, she said, I've got 4 people in front of me. My experience is with every good idea, you've got 100 people within a big organization that said, no, it can't be done. So you have to move through that and start with something and show what the real challenge is, where the real risks are, where the real solution lies. So building it from a full manual part, identifying your use cases with all the criteria there, moving to an automated part, which might be a chatbot or automated generated messages, towards generated messages. That latter part is, of course, only possible if you have gone through all those stages before, consciously already building your data use case procedures in a way that the machine, the factory basically, because it's only something that is only a factory, what you put in, you get something out, that it actually has the right ground materials to actually provide the right answer at the end. So just as a point, start from the beginning, identify those key criteria, start working on it, and by doing that, you will actually have at one point in time a specific part that will give you some extra time and money back. For instance, introducing the chatbot already reduced the time that our agents were actually answering chats with 30%. That was targeted, we estimated that, and that actually came through. But by getting rid of that 30% of traffic from the chat agents and from our development teams and design teams, we can focus on the next part, the next problem to solve. If you don't start with the first part, you'll never have that leverage.
Just to add something that, for me, the most important thing is your data is your legacy, correct? So the AI, this bloody thing that we hear every day, is something that can help us a lot in the whole business, especially for loan origination and collection and things like that. But you have to have clear data. Standardize your data, perform data standardization and things like that in order to be able, the AI, to provide you answers in your questions.
And one thing I want to add is that we in the finance sector, we are in a regulated sector, so we have to be damn sure what comes out of that factory, and that's the biggest challenge I think we have on that part. Cleaning up our data, cleaning up our processes, and make sure that the factory produces what we want.
Yeah. Maybe building on that, because of course we're in a regulated environment, but the other one is of course the perception of the customer. Do they feel it's safe to do transactions via Copilot or chatbot? Maybe a last word on that, and I would like to wrap up with that question, if you don't mind. Who wants to take? Okay, let's do the sequence.
Let me try to be fast again. I'm the fast guy. I think that we have to educate the customer, train the customers, getting feedback from the customer. Based on that, we will be able to convince customers to use the chatbots and everything, and the Copilot and everything else. Of course, the new age are able to do it very easily, but still we need education and train and feedback from the customer all the time.
Yeah, so this is again like a baton, estafette, right? I have to build upon this one. Now, from my perspective, you've got two things there. You talked about perception of safety, and for me, on the safety side, or feeling safe, is the perception of safety and the technical safety. For us, as financial institutions, we have to make sure that the technical safety is always there. We can't live without the trust of our customers, and so the technical safety should be there and have to be there. The perception of safety is something else, and that needs to be triggered across the board. Yes, with education, but also with how you design your touch point, what color schemes you use, even what tone of voice you use, in what point of time, what kind of pictures you use, what kind of message you put out into the market on the target of the organization. So the perception of safety on that matter comes from the trust. The technical safety should be always there, and most of the time it's always there. The perception of safety we have to manage across the board.
No, I can also try to build up that there are early adopters everywhere, and I mean I would use, if there was a good such solution available. We do have this junior service, like the junior cards, etc. We try to not involve human there at all. So, and then the kids are using it quite perfectly. So it's the future anyways. So I think we'll get there quite soon.
Okay. So knowing this was a very long session, we have time for one pivotal question if you want. If not, you can reach out to us during the break. I know that we need to break, so one question here. Go ahead.
Sorry. I get plugged up. No, I'm just interested because we talked about adding new technology, about cultural transformation, becoming more agile processes and so on. But what I experience is that the benefits are limited up to the point until the existing fragmented IT system architecture kicks in. So have you transformed your IT architecture, and if yes, in what stage of the digital transformation?
I think it's on the bank side.
We'll hand it over to the bank side. We start with ING. This is a global bank, right?
Yeah, but that's a difficult to answer then. If you, the answer to your question is yes, there is already a transition taking place in centralizing and cleaning up the IT landscape. That for sure. How far we are, as far as we can be right now, I'm not the one that can speak about that. I can only say what we have done from a global point of view and what we've set up in Asia. And there was another case where we actually have the opportunity to choose our own legacy. And of course, you choose your legacy already from day one. And you have to be conscious of that. You have technical debt, you make choices, business goes before some of the IT parts there. So there's also some divergence there. How far are we? I don't know, it depends on who you talk to, but at least if you look at where we were 12 years ago and where we are now, it's a completely different ball game based on all the newest technologies which are proven and tested into the market, and trying to experiment moving forward with new technologies to see how they can help us make it even more simple and more to the point. Hope that answers your question.
Yes, I think it's a journey, like as we started. But then you need to have phases, otherwise it's difficult to mobilize people. What we do is that we don't touch core banking. We leave it in peace, and then we do the innovation on the business applications. We move to microservices, and then we ensure that these agile teams then do implement. But it's a journey. We are moving there.
Okay. So the three of you, Vasilis, Johan, Giorgi, thank you, and a warm applause for this gentleman.